DSG.
Thank you, Brother Aiden. Namo Vidaya and Sukhihotu to all of you. Welcome to our module 2. Yeah. So this evening we're going to continue with module 2 of our Sumitra Dhamma study group. We have done the first module somewhere in October, 5 lessons, and we finished on the 27th of December. So it has been almost 2 months. And module 1, we covered on the 3 jewels. There were 5 lessons altogether. And we also had a brief introduction on world religions, so that you are not just, familiar with just Buddhism, but also with other world religions, so you can make an informed decision, which is the better or the best religion for you. Yeah. So unless you have made a comparison, then you will know which is the better religion for you. Okay, so we had a very successful session over the last 5 sessions, and today, because of good demand, special request, so we are coming out with module 2, that is on the 4 noble truths. And these 4 noble truths are the very essence, I would say, or the heart of the Buddha's teaching, yeah, or the core of the Buddha's teaching, yeah, because it is paramount that you understand first the 4 noble truths. And this is what the Buddha taught in his very first teaching, yeah, when he gained enlightenment. So he went to seek his 5 the 5 ascetics, the 5 people that had stood by with him earlier, but he wanted actually initially to teach, to go back to his 2 teachers, but he found that his 2 teachers had already passed on. Yeah, but this is something very valuable, something that he has discovered, and he was very excited, and that's why he wanted to share, yeah, with the 5 ascetics. Okay, so I'm also very delighted to see that there are many participants this time around, and also this is basically due to the hard work done by Dr. C.J. Chong from Langkawi Buddhist Society, assisted by Brother Dr. Aiden and also Brother Teh Boon Seng from the Kuching Buddhist Society. So this is a joint effort, actually, by the Langkawi Buddhist Society, by the Kuching Buddhist Society, and the Kinora Buddhist Society. Yeah, so it's wonderful to see that these 3 societies integrate together to come as one, as a team. Yeah, and for those who are newcomers, we call this group the Sumitra Dhamma Sharing Group. Sumitra means we are in good company. Su means good, yeah, good friend. Mitra means friend, so good friend. So we are in very good company. We are associating with the right people. Yeah, so the name is very apt. Yeah? Okay, so with that, I think I would not expand further on that. We have not much time. We have only about 1.5 hours for this session. So we shall start with the Buddha Puja. Is there any takers who want to lead us in this simple short puja? Any volunteers?
I volunteer myself.
Thank you, Dr. CJ. Please. Can we put our palms together, yeah, and calm our minds, and Dr. CJ will lead us in the short puja.
Homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sangham saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. I go to the Buddha for refuge. I go to the Dhamma for refuge. I go to the Sangha for refuge. For the second time, I go to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha for refuge. For the third time, I go to Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha for refuge. Now is taking the 5 precepts. Panatipata, Veramani, Sikapadam, Samadhiyami. Adina, Dana, Veramani, Sikapadam, Samadhiyami. Kamesu, Michachara, Veramani, Sikapadam, Samadhiyami. Musawada, Veramani, Sikapadam, Samadhiyami. Sura Meraya, Madhyapama, Datana, Veramani, Sikapadam, Samadhiyami. Imani panca sikapadani samadhiyami. Imani panca sikapadani samadhiyami. Imani panca sikapadani samadhiyami. I observe the precepts to abstain from killing living beings. I abstain the precept to abstain from taking things not given. I observe the precept to abstain from sexual misconduct. I observe the precepts to abstain from false speech. I observe the precept to abstain from consuming anything that causes intoxication or heedlessness. And I undertake to observe these 5 precepts properly. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, as usual, we will have like a few minutes, about 4 to 5 minutes of meditation practice, just to settle down and gather our thoughts. Yeah. So let us take a moment to settle down, gather our thoughts, and calm our minds before we start our session proper. So first, sit in a comfortable, make yourself very comfortable. Sit in a comfortable and upright position, one that allows your body to be free from tension and be alert at the same time. You can either close or half close your eyes. Bring your mental awareness to bear on your body, feeling its weight, pressures, pulses, and rhythms. Put aside all other concerns for the time being and try to settle in as comfortably as possible. Breathe naturally. Just be aware of your breathing in and breathing out. Now bring to mind any instances of people's actions that have touched you in a positive way, in terms of their kindness or goodwill or patience or understanding, be it coming from your parents, your spouses, teachers, siblings, friends, colleagues, or even from strangers you encounter along the way. Likewise, recall those specific instances that you yourself have reached out to others, dwelling upon the positive impressions and the joyful modes they evoke. You may extend these recollections to include uplifting moments or interactions from the past, or by bringing to mind teachers who have inspired you along the way. Put or wear a smile on your face. Feel the boundless love and compassion within. And with a deep sense of altruistic joy and gratitude, radiate metta or loving kindness to all sentient beings. Now, beginning with yourself, gently make a fervent wish and aspiration. May I be well and happy. May I be free from harm and danger. May my heart be calm and peaceful. May I be able to take care of myself happily. Next, radiate this metta to all your loved ones, your father and mother, spouses, children, close family members and relatives, and all those near and dear to you. May all my family members and relatives be well and happy. May they be free from harm and danger. May their hearts be calm and peaceful. May they be able to take care of themselves happily. Next, radiate this metta to your teachers and everyone in this Dhamma sharing session. May my teachers and everyone in this Dhamma sharing session be well and happy. May you be free from harm and danger. May your heart be calm and peaceful. May you be able to take care of yourself happily. Next, radiate this metta to the whole neighborhood, the whole country, and the whole world. May my neighbors, countrymen, citizens of the world be well and happy. May they be free from harm and danger. May their hearts be calm and peaceful. May they be able to take care of themselves happily. Next, radiate this metta to all sentient beings, being seen or unseen, heard or unheard, known or unknown, above, below, and all around us, outwards and unbounded, omitting none. May all sentient beings be well and happy. May they be free from harm and danger. May their hearts be calm and peaceful. May they be able to take care of themselves happily. With that, whenever you're ready, gently open your eyes and we shall continue with the proceedings. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, as mentioned earlier, today we're going to proceed with module 2 on the 4 noble truths. I have to remind all of you again that this is supposed to be a beginner session. Yeah, so Sister Suchuan and myself won't go into very much detail, but enough for you to grasp the concept, the ideas, to understand, to practice, and to realize. Yeah? So, why are they called 4 noble truths? They are called 4. First of all, simple arithmetic, they are called 4 because there are 4 of them. Yeah, 4 noble truths of dukkha, that is suffering. And then there is samudaya, or the cause of suffering. And that's the third one, nirodha, meaning the end of suffering. And the fourth one is magga, or the path. Yeah, magga means path, leading to the end of suffering. So that's why we are going to cover 4 sessions, plus 1 session of recapitulation. So altogether, we are going to cover 5 sessions. But for this week, we're going to cover part 1, that is dukkha, or suffering. Like I say, there are 4 noble truths. And why are they noble? They are called noble because if you understand them, if you practice and realize them, you'll be a very noble person. Yeah, you'll be a very noble person. Because one who understands them, they are called noble. Yeah, they are noble beings, or we call them Arya. Yeah, Arya means noble. And they are called truths because they correspond with reality. They are true. They are the universal law of nature. It is universal, yeah, that everybody has to suffer. Whether you are from royalty, whether you are a pauper, whether you are an outcast, or whether you are of higher caste, nobody can escape suffering. It is impossible to live without experiencing some kind of suffering. I mean, we have seen it, right? No matter how high you are in the level of society, in the strata of society, you still have to suffer. The Queen of England still has to grow old. She has to get sick, and she died eventually. Yeah. And even if you are a living king, right now, king of England or king everywhere, yeah, king of even Malaysia, as every human being, they have to suffer, they have to experience pain, whether bodily pain or physical or psychological pain or mental pain, yeah, mental suffering. So none of us can escape. That's why it's called a noble truth. It's a universal truth. All right. So when you look at it, you'll think that, wow, Buddhism is such a pessimistic religion. Yeah. You talk about suffering. Yeah. You talk about, some call it unsatisfactoriness. Some people will call it distress. And Reverend Thich Nhat Hanh call it ill being. Yeah, he call it ill being. So these are the interpretations of dukkha. So, but generally, we just call it suffering or unsatisfactoriness. Yeah, and it is not something pessimistic because it is a fact of life. Yeah, and you need to understand it because it affects all of us, no matter who we are, like I said earlier. So why we say it is pessimistic, it's not pessimistic, because once we understand it, it actually gives us the impetus, the motivation. Once we understand it and we dwell into it, we dig deeper into it, we reflect upon it, then we'll know that there is a reason for it, there is a cause for it, and that we can overcome it. And the eventual result, the ultimate result, will be the cessation of suffering. We talk about, suffering, the cause of suffering, and then there will be an end of suffering. So it is actually a very, very optimistic religion. It gives you the way out of suffering, which no other religion will show you. The way out of suffering, and there is a path. You follow the path, and you can end your suffering, and you will achieve purification and the ultimate bliss of nibbana or happiness. So it is actually a very, very optimistic religion. Other religions will tell you that, you are sin is inborn within you. Everybody is a sinner, and you have to believe in the Almighty God. You have to be converted, you have to be baptized, you have to do this, to do that, in order to save yourself. Otherwise, you go to purgatory or to hell. So there is no way out. Either you believe or you don't. Either you go to heaven or you go to hell. But Buddhism, like I mentioned in the last module, empower you really to realize for yourself that you can, and that you have the power within yourself to release yourself from this cyclic, the circle of samsara or suffering, of birth after birth after birth after birth. So thus, Buddhism is the only truly universal religion because it goes right to the core of every individual, human beings concerned, suffering, that is suffering, and how to avoid it. I mean, you can avoid it. Okay. But today I'm not going to touch on what are the causes of suffering, what are the main causes of suffering. They will be covered in part 2, or that there is an end of suffering and what is the path leading to the end of suffering. Today, this evening, I'm just going to define to you what we mean by suffering or dukkha. So you can see here a picture that the Buddha was preaching to the 5 ascetics in a place called Sarnath, Sarnath, in the northeastern part of India. So after, like I mentioned earlier, after Gautama attained enlightenment, he wanted to spread the good news, this beautiful news, that everybody can escape suffering, and that he wants to share it, like I say, foremost with his 2 teachers, but unfortunately, they have passed away. And then the next best option was, of course, the 5 ascetics. They were together with him before he gained enlightenment. So using his mind's eye, his psychic power, he can see that these 5 monks are somewhere in Sarnath. So he tracked about 270 kilometers in present day distance to travel and to meet up with them. But as the Buddha was approaching the 5 ascetics, they agreed with each other not to greet Gautama because they were angry with him for giving up his practice earlier and return to the sensual life, because earlier they were supposed to practice the extremities of what do you call it, those days they have this practice of this is all those, meaning that they have to practice hardship, starve themselves, eating like 2 grains of rice per day, you know, and not drinking water and so forth until their skin, their body become like skin and bones. So this is their belief those days, that they can only gain salvation through not to be attached to their body, to practice all these kind of extremities. We call it extremities, yeah. Okay. So, but then once the 5 ascetics saw the Buddha looking at his beautiful countenance, the aura within him, they couldn't help themselves but to greet and take care of the Buddha, yeah, because they see that there is something special in him, yeah? Due to the way that they carry himself, his countenance, and the aura that surrounds him. So they politely sat around him and pay homage to them, and they listen to what the Buddha has to propagate to them. And this discourse is called the Dhammacakka Pavattana Sutta, setting in motion the wheel of Dhamma. And one of the core subject or core teachings in this discourse is the 4 noble truths, which form the core or the basic or the fundamental teachings of Buddhism. Yeah. Okay, the first noble truth: there is suffering in life. Like I say, suffering can be quite a strong word to use. Many historians or Buddhist scholars would like to use the word unsatisfactoriness, and some, like Venerable Walpola, he like to use the word distress. And like I mentioned, Reverend Thich Nhat Hanh used the word ill-being, yeah, as against well-being when the suffering ends. So ill-being versus well-being. So the first characteristic of suffering is birth. Yeah. You see, I mean, I myself personally, as a father and as a grandfather, I've seen many births in my family, and I've never seen any baby smile when they come out from their mother's womb, right? The first thing they do is cry, yeah? Crying because of the cold, you can see they are naked. Crying because now they have to breathe on their own. Crying because now they cannot feed on their own when they are hungry, yeah? They have to depend, they have to suckle on their mother's breast, and they have to breathe on their own. So that's why they cry. They are no longer in the comfort and the warmth of their mother's womb. So from there, you can see the very beginning of birth itself is suffering. Anybody would like to disagree with that? Nobody here cries when they were born, or they start laughing straight away? Oh, what a beautiful world. Yeah. Okay, so birth is suffering, and aging is suffering as well. Yeah. The process of aging. And now many of you feel that you are young, you are strong, but we age every nanosecond, every second, every minute we are aging, right? As I'm talking now, the cells in my body are dying and replicating, but it gets weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker as you grow old. Yeah, your sight will fail you. I'm wearing glasses now. I'm not a monk, but I'm bald-headed. Yeah, not by design, but by nature. Okay, and so many other things. Maybe short of hearing in one ear, and having this ailment and that ailment, and so on. Yeah, some the hair suffer hair loss, some turn to white hair, and then you have more wrinkles. I have a black patch on my skin and all that. Yeah. So this is aging is suffering. Yeah. You are not the handsome or beautiful person that you once were. Yeah. You are aging and aging. Okay. I think this is simple enough, so I wouldn't elaborate so much. Okay, you see like this boy here is the same person at age 17 and age 102. Yeah, when you're young, you're dashing. Yeah. I mean, we can reflect on our own life. Yeah, we can see when we were young how we look. When I was young in the uniform, how dashing I was. You know, I was a former police officer, and especially in my uniform. Yeah, and then of course after a while you get old. Yeah, you get wrinkles in your body. You got a spare tire, and got some teeth missing and all that. Yeah, you have to go and see Dr. CJ Chong or Dr. Aiden to have your tooth extract and so on. Yeah? Or have the holes patch, okay? Or have a denture made and so on. So life is very transient. Yeah, life is transient. Transient means temporary or changing. Yeah, it's always changing. All right. So the third aspect of suffering, death is suffering. Yeah, because before death itself, you have a lot of pain here and there. Yeah, and also you'll be trying to catch on your breath, hard on your breath. I remember seeing people die as a police officer. I've seen people die their last moments, how they're struggling with their breath. They're trying to hold on to their breath, but they cannot evade death. Yeah, death is certain, life is uncertain. When your time is up, whether you're young or old, yeah, or in your midterm, you'll meet your end. Yeah. Okay. So all beings, yeah, all beings, even whether inanimate objects or animate objects, yeah, they also will change. But in terms of death, of course, it refers to inanimate objects, like this kind, like the picture you see here, a monkey losing its young. You can see many animals, how when they lose their young, they will also clutch their young, hold their young in their arms, and they will also lament, grieve, and sorrow over the death of their beloved ones. And especially now you can see what is happening in Turkey. As of now, I think about 40,000 people has died, and they expect more. There'll be more victims. And as it is, about how many million has been displaced without food, without clothing, and with the water, and with the elements now in the thick of winter, suffering from the cold and so on. Yeah, so that is really suffering. All right. And also what is happening in Ukraine now. Every day there is bombing, people live in fear. Yeah. Fear can be in the form of physical, yeah, not only physical, but also mental. Mental means fearful, anxiety, stressful, and feeling of all kinds of distress. Yeah. Okay. And also fear of the unknown, fear of what will happen after you die, and so on. Yeah. Fear of heights. So these are actually mental or psychological suffering. So it's not just physical suffering, yeah, but also mental suffering. So this is more of when you talk about sorrow, lamentation, distress, and despair, they are forms of psychological suffering, yeah, as opposed to pain, yeah, bodily pain. So as you see at the top left-hand corner, many people are suffering in this world. According to a UN report, there are about more than 100 million people who are suffering, yeah? Especially in Africa, in some parts of in Asia, about 100 million people are suffering. That means they go to bed without food or just one meal a day, and some not at all. And on top of that, big countries, yeah, are spending, big power countries are spending like more than trillions of dollars in arms, trying to improve on their military, their nuclear arsenal, constructing bases, military bases here and there, and so on. If only, I remember Dr. Jeffrey Sachs mentioned, if only they could spend like 10% of this military budget, and they could save the whole 100 million people from suffering with only 10% of what they spend on armaments and military hardware. They can save the whole world from famine, yeah, and suffering. All right. So this is suffering, yeah. Sorrow, lamentation, distress, and despair, they are quite close in meaning, yeah. They're actually quite close in meaning, but sometimes they are interchangeably used, yeah. But first we go to pain, yeah. Pain, as you know, physical pain, bodily pain. A lot of you go for physiotherapy because you got back pain here, you got spinal pain here, you got slip disc here, you go for acupuncture, you visit your TCM doctor, or you take all kinds of medication just to alleviate your pain, right? So this is something that we cannot escape, yeah? This is what we mean by suffering, that life is suffering, life is unsatisfactory. We are in distress all the time, yeah? And some of us cannot sleep. We need to take sleeping pills to sleep, And also the reason is because we may have psychological suffering as well, yeah, because we lament, we despair over our loved ones who have passed away, so we can't sleep, or we think about the job waiting for us in the office, yeah? the schedule that we have to meet, the target that we have to meet. So we suffer anxiety, stress, and so on. Okay, so this is very normal. Yeah, is there any one of you here who have not had any toothache? Because then I pity the dentist in this. In this session, because then Dr. Chong and Dr. Adam won't have any business if you all don't have toothache, or you don't make your dentures or your filling or implants. Then these two doctors in this session won't have any business at all. Or the TCM doctors won't have any business. Yeah. Then, in fact, the medical, what should I say? The medical industry is one of the highest grossing industry, yeah, in terms of money making. Yeah, big firms like Pfizer, BioNTech, and all that, they make tons and tons and tons of money. You just look at COVID-19, good enough, yeah. The amount of money that they make is really, really very sinful, yeah. And the amount of money that our government spend on the vaccines, yeah, it causes billions of dollars, yeah, billions of dollars. So just to alleviate our suffering, we have to spend billions and trillions of dollars. Okay. So I think that's easy concept to understand, right? About what is suffering, bodily suffering, as well as physical suffering, as well as psychological or mental suffering. So this guy is suffering, this picture here is his distress. And this guy here is despair. So like I said, there is a fine line between this type of suffering or this vocabulary, distress, despair, lamentation, and so on. Distress is more of a, we are in a situation where it's quite critical, like I would say. You have like this guy here, he's got a deadline to meet, but you don't know where to start. Or when you are in a sinking ship, suddenly you find a hole in your ship, and then your boat or your ship is sinking, and you don't know what to do. So you send the SOS. That's why it's called a distress signal, yeah. Or you are in an aeroplane, suddenly one of the engine is broken down or faulty. So you also call out a distress signal. Yeah? So it's distress where you're in such a critical situation, you're in a crisis situation where you're almost like hopeless. Despair, like what is happening in Turkey right now, you are in despair. Here you are, you may have survived the earthquake, you're out there, but there is no help coming your way. You are cold, you don't have food to eat, and then there's no fuel also to make fire, no electricity, and you're really, really suffering, and there's no aid in sight. So that is your despair, right? Yeah. When is help coming? When is help coming my way? When is a proper assistance? Yeah. And now they have border dispute like Syria, despite the calamity, they still refuse to open their border until recently. Yeah. So aid could not come in. Yeah. Until recently, then only they open. Okay. And then, of course, there is sorrow. Sorrow is more like somebody close to you pass away, yeah, your beloved, your close and dear one. So you feel of sorrow, yeah, that your loved ones have passed away. But like for us, we don't sorrow, right? We don't feel despair. We don't have sorrow over those who died in the war in Ukraine or in the earthquake in Turkey and Syria, because they are not close to us. Of course, we have compassion, we felt pity or empathy, but we don't have that kind of sorrow. Sorrow is much stronger, yeah. So we can only empathize, pity, and probably make some donations or convey our message, but that's all we can do. But for the close ones, the relative, they will be full of sorrow, anguish of sorrow. Yeah? All right, for the loved ones. And lamentation is, of course, is the higher form of sorrow. It's a lamentation. You cannot take it until you wail and you cry until your tears cannot come out. You even pound your chest. Why you leave me? You start crying and wailing, non-stop. Yeah. Until to the extent that some people also they break down, unconscious when they lament too much, when they cried so much. And they pound their chest, sometimes out of anger, they even pound, if there is a body in front of them, they even pound the body of the dead one, of the deceased. Why do you leave me? Why do you leave me? And that kind of thing. So that is what we call lamentation. So you see the amount of suffering that human beings go through. Yeah, that's why when the Buddha discovered this, after gaining enlightenment, then he can see the past lives, his past lives. Yeah, rebirth after birth after birth, and not only his past lives, but the lives of other beings as well. He knows how beings go through the samsaric wheel of life, from one life to another, one life to another. He can see why they have to suffer, why they have to be reborn. Yeah. So then he understands. Yeah. Then he saw the way, and then, of course, during his many lifetimes, he's walked the path. Yeah. So And he was so excited that he needs to share this one to the whole world, starting with the 5 ascetics. And that started the wheel in motion. That's why we call the Dhammacakka Pavatana Sutta, setting the wheel in motion. So after setting the motion in about what? In the early 7th century until now, 2,500 years later, it is still being set in motion. And you are still studying about the 4 noble truths and how to get out of this samsaric circle. Okay. So lamentation. Okay, that's a good story. I think Sister Suchan has forwarded to you this very nice story on Patachara. Yeah, how he married this low caste person who's actually the servant. She comes from a very high caste. She fell in love with the servant and they eloped because she knows the family won't approve. And after a while, she got pregnant. And as was the custom in India at the time, when the lady gets pregnant, they have to go to their family's house, the mother's house, to deliver. So you can see the same story goes to the Buddha's mother, yeah? Queen Maya Devi, when she wanted to deliver Siddhartha Gautama. She also, same thing, she and her retinue travel all the way from Kapilavatthu to the mother's house. Along the way, she stopped by in Lumbini and then she gave birth. Yeah. So after that, of course, she did not proceed any further, but to go back to the palace. So likewise, Patachara also same thing. When she was about to deliver, she wanted to visit the parents, but of course the husband just refused because the husband say they still look down on me, they will chase me out, or they might even get the palace guards to imprison me, yeah, for eloping with you. So, but then Patachara was very adamant, yeah, very, very adamant. So, okay, with or without you, I'm going. So Patachara, the husband, being such a loyal and loving husband, got no choice but to go and to go after her, but and to escort her. But in between, before they can reach the mother's house, she already gave birth. And then, of course, they had to turn back. But I don't have time. I don't have time to tell you the story. So I'll make it more suspense. So you all go back and go and open up the YouTube that Sister Suchan has sent you earlier, and you'll know the rest of the story. But basically, the moral of the story is that she lost her first. She lost her husband. Then she lost her first kid. Then she lost her second kid. Then she lost the parents, and then she lost the brother as well. So within a single day, she lost like how many? 6 people in the family. I wonder who can take it. I mean, maybe one person died in your family also, you cannot take it, like this lady here wailing and lamenting and so on. But this one of 6 people in the family died. I think it was within the space of 1 day, right? Yeah. The parent, the husband died of a snake bite. The 2 children died of drowning while they were trying to cross the river. And then when she wanted to go over to the parents' house, she learned that the house has already been burned and that both her parents and her brother perished in that fire. So you can imagine, actually she grew mad. Yeah, she really grew mad. Yeah, and then she tore off her clothes and she go about naked until she came to a monastery. The Buddha came to know that she was around and asked them to bring her in, because the Buddha, in his mental capacity, with his psychic power, he can see that the time is right for Patachara, yeah, to learn the Dhamma, comprehend the Dhamma, and realization and gain sotapanaship. Okay, so that's the gist of the story. So read the story; it's very, very interesting. It talks about impermanence, about death is suffering. Yeah. Okay, and then and also that death visits everybody. Yeah, whether you are young, whether you are old, or whether you are of middle age, you will still experience death. It's only a matter of when, right? Okay. Okay, the fifth aspect of suffering is that association with the unloved or unwanted is suffering. I'm sure you may have experienced this before, right? You have certain people that you just don't like to associate with, right? But somehow or other they always come and bug you and trouble you. Yeah, they are always around when you are, you know, um, the moments where you want peace, and they're always there to disturb you, come and uh, borrow tools from you, or even borrow money, or maybe your neighbors, they create all kinds of shouting here, shouting there, or they let their dog loose in front of your house, and let the dog poo in front of your gate, and all this. So these are association with the unbeloved or unwanted. It's suffering, isn't it? Yeah. When you have such neighbors around who create a lot of din and noise, who let the dog loose and poo in front of your house, or who keep you bugging for this, bugging you for that, yeah, and so on. Yeah. So that is association with the unbeloved or even unwanted things that happen to you that you don't like. You wear a brand new shirt or pants for Chinese New Year. You had karimi in the house and suddenly spill over your white shirt, and it can be seen all over your shirt, and you feel very disappointed. Yeah, very uneasy, very unhappy. Yeah. So suffering can be all forms. Yeah? They have a degree of suffering, the intensity of it. Just having aversion or being displeased is also considered as part of suffering. Yeah, having aversion or displeasure or being disturbed or being censured is also a kind of, of suffering, right? It all depends on the intensity. Yeah. Okay. So that is the fifth one. And then the sixth one is, of course, separation from loved ones. This is dying. It may not be death. It can be also separate. Of course, separation means can be death or can be separated over distances or not seeing one another for months. Yeah. For example, you have a job to do. You are taken out station for months and years that you don't get to see your family because of the nature of your work. Like when I was in Bosnia for 1 year, yeah, as a peacekeeper with the United Nations in Bosnia for 1 year. It was suffering for me because first of all is the culture. The second one is I have to experience 2 winters because I went in December and have to come back late January. So winter, two winters that I have to go through experience. And then the culture is such, everything is scarce. There's scarcity everywhere. You can't get the things that you want. You can't watch TV. There's no TV. You don't have a phone at that time. And then so many things that are lacking. And of course, the the distress and the anxiety that anytime they can come and ambush you or harm you in some ways. Yeah. So that's the kind of and then of course the separation well, your spouse and your kids and so on. Yeah. So separation from loved ones is also suffering. Yep. Okay. Okay, the next one is not getting what is wanted is suffering. Yes, you sometimes you you desire something, but you get it. Yeah. I mean, when you don't desire something, you get it. Like sickness, you don't desire sickness, but you get it. You don't want failure, but you get it. But when you wanted something or desire something, you also don't get. That is also suffering. Like you want academic success, but you don't get it. Your expectation is, I want to have 10 A's, straight A's in my SPM. Yeah, but come out only 9. So even if you win, you lose, or you miss one miserable A, you got a B plus, you're still not happy, because of the dislocation of expectation, because the expectation is very high. Likewise, in career and business, also the same thing. Yeah, you don't succeed, you get very annoyed. You get very depressed, and you find ways and means to try to exert yourself more and more. And in the to the extent that you might even neglect your family and your health and so on. And then in romance and love, yeah. Today happened to be, what day is today? You all know, right? It's Valentine's Day, right? And some young people are sad because they don't have a girlfriend to share with. Yeah, they cannot buy roses or chocolates or pink undergarments to send to their, or to share with their boyfriends or girlfriends. So they feel very sad. All their friends are going out with their boyfriends or girlfriends, but they have to stay at home. So failure and romance and love. Yeah, they want romance, but they cannot get it. So that is suffering, right? I mean, most of you have gone through that phase, when you are an adolescent, how you feel, right? When your the guy or the girl that you're interested in does not reciprocate and so on, you're going to go through a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of failures and so on. So this is not getting what is wanted. Yeah, it's suffering. And like I said, getting what you do not want is also suffering, just the other way around, like I mentioned earlier. Okay, then the 8th one is clinging to the 5 aggregates is also suffering. This is the last aspect that I'm going to talk about this evening, the 5 aggregates. This is a bit, I would say, something which is not that easy to comprehend, yeah? Let me take out my notes for a while. Yeah, aggregates. There are the 5 aggregates. 5 aggregates here means nama and rupa. Nama means name, name or mind. Nama from the word nama, mind. And rupa means your physical body. Rupa is physical body. Nama, rupa. So the human being is comprised of these 5 aggregates: nama and rupa. Rupa is your physical form, rupa. Like you adalah seorang yang rupawan, gadis yang rupawan, or jejaka yang rupawan, you're a handsome person. So that's where the Malay language is borrowed from the Sanskrit or Pali language. Rupa means your physical body, your appearance. Rupa yang cantik, rupa yang menawan, dan sebagainya. Yeah. And then of course you have the feeling, the mind. The mind is comprised of the 4 aggregates of feeling, perception, consciousness, and mental formation. So body is easy lah. Body is easy lah. Your physical body is made up of the four great elements that we call it. Yeah, of and how you sustain your body is through your eating. Yeah, from a baby sustained from milk, from your mother's milk. Eventually, you get solid food, and after that, you take other food until you grow to this size. For the average Asian, about 5'2" to 5'6", and so on. Yeah, so you gain your physical body through what you eat, and what you eat also consists of the four great elements of they call it earth, the earth elements, all the iron, potassium, zinc, or whatever you name it. And then you have water, or the water elements. Our bodies consist more than 17% of water. Patavi is earth, Patavi, Apo is water, and then Tejo is the fire or heat element. And then the last one, the fourth element is air, the air that you breathe in, the oxygen that you breathe in, and the carbon dioxide that you breathe out. So these four elements of earth, water, heat element, and wind element. Yeah. So that is the body, and all our suffering is also based on these five elements. Body is very clear to understand, right? Like I say, when we cling to our body, we think that we can never grow old, right? We are handsome at 17 years old, but when we're 102 years old, this is how we look, and so on. So the moment we see white hair, we become anxious, anxiety creep in. The moment we see a pimple when we are a teenager, anxiety creep in. We go and buy all kinds of medication to make ourselves look beauty. We put on a stylish hairstyle and so on. Yeah. So we take care of our body. We cling to our body as if it is something permanent. Yeah, but which is not. Yeah, that's why we suffer. Yeah, the aging process. Yeah. So that is the result why we're clinging. We don't want to die. We want to seek the what they call it, the fountain of youth. how not to die. Yeah. Okay. How to live long to 1,000 years. But eventually you still die. Even if you live to 1,000 years, you still will die, right? And sometimes you think that you want to live long, but it's not worth it. Yeah. Because I've seen this with many people who grow old, but they are really, really, really suffering. And I can tell because my mother is 96 years old. She's suffering. She's got dementia. She's almost bedridden. Yeah. And then she goes into a tantrum. She can't remember things, cannot hear. But the only good thing is that she can eat. Yeah, but she's creating a lot of uneasiness for herself and also for the family because of a tantrum. Sometimes when she's in demented form, all the curses, all the shouting, and all that, and the tantrums that she put in. So Sister Suchan also will know because she's also a nursing caregiver to her mother, who's also now suffering a bit of dementia, as I know it. But as a son or as a daughter, it's our duty to continue to love them no matter what. Yeah, as a caregiver. So to this, I really salute Sister Suchan. Yeah, she even brought her mother to back to Sarawak, yeah, to spend the Chinese New Year. Yeah. Although she has a lot of limitations, she has to be on a wheelchair, you know, and with all her physical pain and psychological pain, and despite her career, despite her duties as a mother, as a wife, and she's also still busy, yeah, doing a lot of things. Sometimes I wonder how she copes. So I really salute her, yeah. And today she became ill. So she herself became ill. So we really hope for recovery soon. Yeah, and despite that, she's still in this session because she wants to make sure that this session runs smoothly. And like I said earlier, we complement and supplement each other since she cannot effectively present this because of a sore throat. I've taken over her slot this week, but it was not a problem for me because she has prepared this very wonderful, the slide that you see in front of you is actually prepared by her. So it's very easy for me to present, yeah, because the way she prepared it in such a very easy way to understand, very clear, concise, and yet comprehensive. Yeah. So okay, back to 5 aggregates. Like I say, aggregates is actually composition. Yeah. Combination of elements. That's why we call aggregates. So the human being that you see here is a combination of these 5 elements of body, of feeling, of perception, consciousness, and mental formation and consciousness. So feeling is very easy to understand. Is your feeling, whether you're feeling through sensation, through your 6 sense bases. The moment your eyes see something, contact with something, you have this feeling, oh, so beautiful, so nice, so pleasant. It can be pleasant, or it can be unpleasant, or it can be neutral. That is through your eyes, senses, sense of sight. To sense of smell, the moment you smell something, you can either feel whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, nice smelling or foul smelling, yeah, and so on. Yeah. And then of course you feel you form a perception, or this nice smelling, yeah. You attribute it to a perfume, you perceive it, you have this kind of perception or intellectual capacity to interpret, oh, this is nice smelling, yeah. It must something is something nice. It could be a perfume from Paris, or sometimes perfume also you can perceive whether it's a cheap form of perfume or expensive perfume, right? So we have this intellectual capacity to feel, to feel, and of course to perceive, yeah, to interpret, yeah, how we feel, yeah, okay, or in other words also to make judgment, yeah, to be judgmental, okay. So that's the problem, no? When you're feeling, when you're pleasant or unpleasant, when you only want to think about the pleasant feeling, so you cling to the pleasant feeling. Once the pleasant feeling is gone, you feel miserable, or once you feel unpleasant feeling, something not nice, you tend to have this kind of aberration, not aberration. You have this what we call it, anger or hatred, or bad feeling against it. I would say bad feeling, something unwholesome feeling against it. Yeah. So that's why you suffer because of that. Anything pleasant, you want to cling on, and when it is pleasant, it can also be unsatisfactory, right? Because the pleasantness or the pleasure doesn't last. So you want to cling on it, hoping that your last you don't have to lick your last bit of ice cream, right? For example, a small boy, you get an ice cream, you hope that the ice cream will last, that he can continue on licking and licking. He's now experiencing pleasure, right? Taking a nice ice cream with topping and with all that nice topping that he likes. Then he was hoping that I will continue licking forever, that it lasts forever. So, but then nothing lasts forever. So what is pleasant will turn out to be unpleasant at the end of the day. Because why? There's no more ice cream to lick. There is a change. There is anicca, right? So feeling is also a cause of clinging. yeah, which is cause of suffering. And then perception also the same thing. You have your own perception, your own preconceived idea. You're being very judgmental. Yeah? There is no black and white. Either it's white, black or white. That's all. Either it's black or it is white. No black and white. So that kind of perception that you have, which is dangerous. Yeah. So that is the reason why the Buddha says wrong view can lead to your own pitfall, because when you have wrong view or you have fixed ideas, then you are not susceptible to new ideas. You'll be arrogant. You'll be a snob. You don't want to learn. Yeah, you feel that you are always right. Okay, so that is perception. Of course, then there is mental formation. Once you have formed that perception, the mental formation is the active part. Yeah, that means you will react. You will react in a manner that is angry, that is violent, and so on. Yeah, so you react to it. You want to change things to your liking. Yeah, you want to extinguish what you don't like. So that becomes your mental formation, and this is where the unwholesome karma will be formed. Yeah, once you react on this, yeah, whether mentally, physically, or verbally. Yeah, so this is where the karmic formation comes in. All right, and of course the last one is consciousness, awareness of what is going on. You have the awareness, yeah, the state of being aware, identification with an object. Yeah, but sometimes, although you are aware, but because of your perception, your mental formation, of preconceived ideas that you have over the past, that has been built up, the habit pattern, and so on. You stick on to your awareness or your consciousness. You refuse to budge. Like I said, white is white, black is white. You are not flexible. So you cling on to that concept or that awareness. Yeah? You refuse to change. So this is the 5 aggregates of clinging that leads to suffering. Like I say, this is a beginner session. We will one of these days hope to have a specific subject on this, and then we can discuss it further. Yeah, but for beginner session, I'll just leave it at there. Just know that these 5 aggregates of nama and rupa will lead you to suffering, because all these aggregates, when you dig deeper into it, when you analyze it, it's actually to your clinging, attachment to your body, attachment to your feeling, attachment to your perceived or preconceived ideas, and then your mental volition or formation, and then your consciousness is such that it cannot be changed. You cling to it. Yeah? That's why in Buddhism, the Buddha taught you to have right view, to have an open mind all the time, yeah? So that you are susceptible to new ideas. Yeah. Okay. Okay, this is the 5 aggregates of the first. This is a Pearl Noble Truth. This is one go. This is good. This diagram is good. It shows you in diagrammatic form. Yeah, in diagrammatic form, what is suffering? Yeah, what is stress or suffering? It starts here with the birth, aging, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, distress, despair, association with the unbeloved, separation from the loved ones, and the last one is sorry, I'm blocked by this. Not getting what you want, yeah, not getting what you want. Okay, so these are in a very diagrammatic form, and it all starts with the 5 aggregates. So that is where we have to look at the first thing you look, the Buddha taught you, the first thing you need to look as into your body and your mind, into the 5 aggregates. That's why we have this, what we call vipassana meditation, or the 4 foundations of mindfulness. You start with the mindfulness of the body, the mindfulness of the feeling, how you react to certain things, the sensation and so on. Yeah, the 4 foundations of mindfulness that we will be able to cover maybe in some other session. Yeah, there is the Kaya Nupassana, the Vedana Nupassana, the Chitta Nupassana, and the Dhamma Nupassana, the 4 foundations of mindfulness. All these have to do with your body, nama and rupa, the 5 aggregates. So you reflect on the 5 aggregates. You are being mindful of your bodily, mindful of your feeling, mindful of your thoughts, and mindful of your of the Dhamma, and then you can be liberated. Yeah. So that one we will cover in a later chapter. Okay. So we have about 10 more minutes. I think we are about to finish. And then if you have question, maybe you can raise it even now, right in the chat group. And then later, if we have time, we can answer, or we can brought forward to the next session. Okay, so what is dukkha? Dukkha means difficult to uphold, difficult to bear. How does dukkha arise? Dukkha arises because this world has the following 3 characteristics of anicca, dukkha, and anatta, because of the 3 characteristics of life. Yeah, as we know, everything is changing. Anicca, anicca, anicca. Nothing is permanent. Yeah. So the feeling that you have now keep on changing. You are happy now, the next moment you'll be sad. You are prime minister now, the next moment you'll be in Kajang prison. Huh? You may have a lot of wealth now, the next time you may be a bankrupt. Yeah, or you may be hale and hearty now, sitting here on the desk. The moment you go out, you're run down by a car or accident and you die. Yeah. So this is anicca, impermanence, and it is anicca, this change, that bring about a dukkha, right? Right or not? Yeah, dukkha. Because of this change, like I tell the story about the ice cream, the boy with the ice cream, because of the change. Because now there's no more ice cream, it's got nothing to lick, then he's unhappy. Yeah. Oh, especially when he gets the ice cream, so happy licking. Suddenly the scoop drop off from the cone. Imagine how he will start stamping his feet and so on. So in a split second, things can change, right? From being happy to being very unhappy, right? Not. So that is what you mean by anicca. Yeah. And this is anicca is the one that leads to dukkha. And of course, anatta. Yeah. Anatta is meaning non-self. Like I mentioned, all of us think that we will never die. We'll always be young and youthful and so on, will be healthy. Yeah. And that the body is permanent, that there is a self, what the other religions mention as soul. But actually, when you divide your body, when you dissect your body, when it dies, or when it dies, or when you dissect it, there is nothing permanent inside. It's all, like I said, the 4 great elements. When you die, it will disintegrate. Yeah. Earth will go to earth, water will go to water, fluid will come out to all your orifices from your nose, from your mouth, from your ears, everywhere, even from your eyes. Yeah. And then there will be no more heat in you, you get cold, and then you stop breathing, of course, there will be no air. Yeah. So all good. There is nothing, ashes to ashes. Yeah. So there is nothing permanent and nothing to cling on. So because you're clinging to what you call the delusion of this self, that's why we are suffering. Yep. So actually it should be anicca, dukkha, anicca, anatta, and dukkha should come last. Yeah. Okay. Change is the one that brought about dukkha. The concept of anatta is also the one that brought about dukkha. Okay. So these are the 3 characteristics of life: anicca, anatta, and dukkha. This is what we mean by impermanent. As you can see, you can draw whatever in the sand, but when the wave comes, it just washes it away. Yeah, nothing is permanent. This is in pictorial form. And also, like in the seasons, we have spring. Some temperate climates, they have spring, summer, autumn, and winter. For example, say our average age is 80 years old. So when we divide into these 4 sections. So you are in your spring when you are within from 0 to 20. In your summer season when you are from say 21 to 40, and when you are 41 to 60, you are in your autumn season, and now the 4th quarter is you are in the winter season. Yeah, from 61 to 80. Yeah, so I'm actually in my winter season already. I'm facing my 4th quarter, yeah, because I'm in the 60s. But then if we look at it objectively, actually it's okay, you know, we can die peacefully, we accept things. That's why I say suffering is actually a concept which is very objective, which really very satisfying, very fascinating, and there is a way out of it, you know. We become very objective. Yeah. So we don't have to worry when we die. We know that, you know, our karma will determine our next rebirth. Yeah. So we are not worried. Yeah. That's why there is also a reflection. The Buddha also teaches you a reflection. Every morning before you wake up, you tell yourself, I'm subject to old age. Nobody is exempt from old age. So I tell myself, I'm already in my winter season. Yeah. So I keep on reminding myself. And then the second reflection is, I'm subject to old age. Yeah. To sickness, actually, to sickness. Yeah. First is old age. The second one is sickness. As it is now, I have already got a lot of ailments. Like I have eyesight problems, I have spinal problem, I have a bit of prostate problem, and so on. So now you have to look at it objectively, and you remind yourself, you know, every morning, so that you are ready for whatever comes your way next. And then the third reflection is, I'm subject to death. Eventually, I'm subject to death. Nobody can escape death. Yeah, like I say, even the king, the queen, the pauper, the princess, those high caste, low caste, everybody is subject to death. Even the Buddha is died. Even the Buddha is subject to suffering, right? You remember his last days, he was suffering from food poisoning. As long as you have a body, you are born, you will suffer. Yeah, you will suffer. There's no escape, except for the Buddha, because he's in the situation, he has cultivated himself. His mind transcends the body. So when you have cultivated yourself to a certain level, you can transcend whatever physical pain or mental pain that you suffer. So although he's suffering, but he's still very calm and still very equanimous. He still take it in his stride. He knows that is the nature of life. As long as I have a body, my body will grow old, will get sick, and I will die. Yeah. So even like our late chief reverend, K.Sri Dhammananda Nayaka Mahathera, you know, when the doctor said that he's got cancer, he just smiled, he just laughed away. And when the doctor suggested what do you call it, X-ray, radiotherapy, he says, it's okay, he still smiled, but he said, make sure that I don't lose my hair. And he laughed, you know, ha 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 ha, heartily, because he's got no hair, right? So you can still joke about it, right? Okay. So this is again anicca. A quick run on this, because as a young girl, a young child, you don't like to take vegetable, right? But things change as you grow older. You know the benefits of vegetable and so on. Like this one, you get your first drink of watermelon juice, especially when you're thirsty. tastes so good, right? Quench your thirst. But when you are made to drink a jar full, full of watermelon, you have ingested too much until you want to vomit out. It became a scourge already, something very unpleasant, right? So everything changes, right? According to the time, according to your body condition, according to your mindset, and so on. So everything changes. So this is just to tell you that everything is changing, just like this beautiful mangrove swamp in Johor and the river flowing. It changes, yeah? The leaves are dropping all the time, and actually there's also new growth of mangrove. And the river is not the same river that you see every time as you step into the river, the water flows away. So it's a different river all the time, all right? So that is a very philosophical aspect of it, right? Anicca, impermanence, existence is constantly changing. Life is a constant change. The same water does not flow through the second time in a river. Also, these are signs of relationship. Signs of relationship might be in trouble. Also change. When you are young and still loving, every day must say, I love you, and then talk nicely to each other. But after a while, you no longer have conversation, your attitude change, you make yourself less available, you ignore your partner, you don't argue anymore. And now you don't send me flowers anymore, although it is Valentine's Day. Yeah. So, and then of course, the second one is unsatisfactoriness, difficult to endure. That's what you mean by dukkha. Do is difficult, kha is to endure. So this is unsatisfactoriness because, again, because of change. Howard Hughes was a very rich man, very famous. He invented a lot of things. He's a philanthropist. But when he grew old, he became senile. He lost all his property and so on. So over time, you see, it changes. This is again anicca. And of course, this is all about perception. You think, again, your perception of now we talk about perception, the mental aspect. You think Paris is the most romantic city in the world. But for those who have gone to Paris, you will know that when you go there, you see a lot of people, a lot of scammers, a lot of pickpockets, a lot of foreigners, a lot of street people selling their wares and so on. Yeah, so it's not as beautiful as you thought in this picture. I know for a fact because I've been to this place twice. Yeah, so it's not as beautiful as you can imagine. And the people are not nice. The French people are not very friendly and so on. So don't romanticize our Paris. Go and visit Miri or Sarawak or Kuching is a much better place to visit. Okay? Don't romanticize. It's all about perception. All right? So don't cling on to your perfection. Imperfection is dukkha. So this again a not self. Nobody stays the same from birth to death because these things change from moment to moment. The me, I, or self is illusion. The self does not exist. This one I mentioned earlier. And of course, the last is a summary. Dukkha is all about birth, old age. Yeah? Just to summarize, as long as you remember this lesson, you remember this is dukkha, these are the elements that comprise of dukkha, is good enough, yeah, for at least this time around. So dukkha is birth, old age, sickness, death, to be associated with the unbeloved, separated from the beloved, not getting what one wants, and also clinging to yourself, clinging to the five aggregates, which is yourself. Okay, so that is the summary of it. And then, of course, the characteristics of life is change, no self, and unsatisfactoriness. Yeah, anicca, dukkha, anatta, and dukkha. Okay, so that ends our topic for tonight. And now it's 10 o'clock. Is there any question before we close? Dr. Aiden, any questions from the chat group?
Okay, no questions now at the moment. Yeah. Of course, I think you all can on the mic if you want to ask anything. No?
Yeah, you can ask personally.
Yeah.
Also, if you
that
have,
will be better
yeah.
for interactions, no? Any questions so far, anyone? The participants? I think it's pretty clear, isn't it? Yeah.
Otherwise, maybe you can reflect, after this session, you can
Yeah.
reflect, and you can always ask during the next session, because I'll still be around also next session.
Yeah.
Sister
Actually,
Sucha will present, but I will still be in attendance.
I'm actually quite how should I put it? Quite impressed with the stories that Sister Sushan shared yeah. Regarding the lady, yeah. After that, has so many strategies and things like that, I mean, for ordinary people, it's just that, I don't think anyone can take that. It's going to be very, very traumatizing, might be having a kind of very bad PTSD as you know, with the suicide, So I think, but behind the story itself is like, you think that you can actually understand things easier. With that kind of traumatic experience, then you actually realize something else, so it's something that is very, very valuable, I'll say.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Dr. Aiden. Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's so fortunate that Patachara also was born during the time of the Buddha. Yeah, she happened to be near the monastery, and the Buddha,
exactly.
saw her and saw in her that something can be done about it. She has the potential, has the potential to attain Sotapanna and eventually Arahantship, because maybe through her life, from her life, previous lives.
Previous karma, So it's something that even though things bad happening, there should be something positive, going on in a way
Correct. Agreed. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay. If not, it is already 10. About 2 minutes past 10. Then we shall do the closure. You can keep some of your questions. Maybe after this, you may recollect some of the things that were presented here, and then you might reflect upon it, and you might have some questions you can ask in the next session. So, okay, who would want to read this gratitude? Anybody would like to volunteer?
Ken, I will volunteer.
Thank you so much, brother.
Okay. In gratitude, if you had experienced joy listening to the Dharma, to consider honoring our teacher, the Buddha, by putting into practice his first teaching to the lay community. Bichaga, donate, help, give support of time and energy to a worthy charity or spiritual organization of your choice. At your convenience, be joyous in believing. We must never take for granted the blessings that we have enjoyed in this life, as our forerunners had done right by us. We must continue the good work for those who come after. May the Dharma last long. May we continue to enjoy supportive conditions for learning and practice. And may we never deviate from true teaching as long as life lasts.
Yeah, thank you, brother Aiden. I think that there is no more better time to do this kind of aspiration, considering what is happening in Turkey and Syria at the moment. Maybe in your own way, even though you may not donate in kind, you can still say some kind of prayers or dedicate your marriage to them. Yeah. So there's many ways that you can support. Okay, you want to continue, Dr. Aiden?
Okay, I'll try. Right. Akasata cha bumata etawata cha amhanhi.
No, Deva, sorry. It is below first. Yeah.
Below first, sorry. Dewa naga mahindika nyamtam anumoditva Ciram rangkatu sasanam, ciram rangkatu dasanam, ciram rangkatu mamparam, tawata cam amhanhi, sampatam puna, sampatam, sabe dewa, sabe sata, sabe buddha, dantu, sabah sapati siddhiya, sharing of merits. May all beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, rejoice in this merit. May they long protect the world and the Buddha Sasana. Long protect the teaching of the Dharma and long protect me and others. May all Deva, all beings, and all spirits share the joys in the merits that we have acquired. Inami natinam hontu, sukita hontu natayo. Inami natinam hontu, sukita hontu natayo. Inami natinam hontu, sukita hontu natayo. May my departed relatives share this merit, may they be happy. Imina punya kamena ame bala samagano satam samagano hotu yava nivaya patiya. By the merits of this action, may we never follow the foolish, but instead associate with the wise until Nibbana is attained.
Thank you.
Sadhu,
Well
sadhu,
done.
sadhu.
Well done, Brother Eden. You did well. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'll pass over to our MC, Brother Eden, to finish up. Is there anything that you want to convey?
Okay, thank you, Brother Casey, for the sharing. I think today we learned quite a lot, yeah, even for this lecture, yeah, I mean sharings, yeah, a simple one, and yet it's very fruitful, simple and concise. So I hope if anyone have any questions, if you too sure to ask now, it's fine. You can actually ask in the chat box later. Then maybe Brother Casey will actually assist, or Brother sales student also will actually assist us to answer the questions. All right. If there's no other questions, we will actually postpone the meeting. Then we'll see you all in another 2 more weeks. And we're going to talk about the second topics on the second noble truth. All right.
So good night, everybody.
Thank you and good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank